3, 2, 1, match start. Here we go. University of Alberta versus Purdue. All right. As in games past, we got Purdue prioritizing their balancing standard. University of Alberta having,
a little bit of percussive maintenance.
Yeah, probably mixed with a little bit of overpower, if I had to guess. That was a lot of health loss. Hopefully they drive with the joystick and they'll have much fewer overpower problems. But Purdue, as we've come to expect, their balancing standard doing pretty well, and that Alberta robot not spinning fast enough to make it a challenge. So they're going to be able to chew through the health of the sentry very quickly. Probably by the time I'm done with this sentence, that sentry falls, first blood, and the shield removed from the base, allowing Purdue to move straight on as a level 2 standard against the base.
Well, as we saw, even with a tiny amount of spin, it did take Purdue a little bit more time than it would have. I mean, probably a few seconds, which is very valid of a tactic to at least have some kind of spin on your sentry. Whether or not that sentry is able to actually fire back is kind of irrelevant as long as you can make it take longer for those robots to go down. Both standards on Purdue now level 2, the level advantage being quite hefty, especially considering U of A is only fielding a single standard, but it's still level 1 and very low health. Purdue once again trying to make short work of that base, but only having the 17mm projectiles firing at the 1500 health structure. Reminder, each 17mm projectile does 5 damage to the base, as opposed to 10 to the robots and 10 to the sentry.
Good showing from Purdue University. 3 minutes left. Pretty quick. They were able to really utilize that early sentry kill straight into base damage strat that you were talking about earlier, right? When we're talking about whether you go for the higher health sentry as your primary target or the lower health level 1 standard as a primary target, this definitely showcased the advantage of going straight for the sentry.
For sure. And it's also just, especially with the standard, able to start working on that, make your runs back to the ammo depot to be able to refill your ammo both physically and in the game. Looking like that level 3 standard is just going to start to try to chew through the 1500 health of the base, which it's doing very, very well as we now go to the first-person view. This is what the driver is seeing for that Purdue robot.
Really impressive accuracy considering that it's a balancing robot. They've got it pretty well dialed in. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. They should be a base kill for round 1, probably just under the 2-minute mark, which for a standard is very impressive. Their accuracy off the charts, as we saw in their first round. Chat liked to talk about that a lot, and I bet when we see that screen, it will be very impressive, right? When you compare this to like the UW performance, because this is, again, just standards taking down the base, which is what we saw earlier.
My oh my, those projectiles are flying. A minute 50, they'll surely be able to finish off this base. Purdue robots moving in shifts.
40 more hits needed. 41 more hits needed for the University of Alberta base. Ooh. Okay, as soon as I complimented their accuracy, getting a little bit wiggly on us.
Looks like they're trying to possibly practice aiming while moving.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad time to do it, as it looks like this is going to come to a close with Purdue sweeping the competition with 2 kills and 2 more bases destroyed under their belt, with only using standards. Very impressive feat. I mean, I don't think either team here is using computer vision that much.
I agree, especially not for navigation at least.
Yeah, I know I did talk to CU, and that was the way that they were primarily navigating around the field, was by using those. So it would be imperative to make sure that that is not peeled down.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Game starts. Here we go, folks. Ooh, the standard again for the University of Alberta taking quite a bit of damage when it drives. Matt, they've got to just use the remote control for drive and then use the mouse to aim and fire, and that will fix that problem 100% of the time.
Yeah, it looks like they just keep getting into that overpower threshold.
Not sure.
Their drive isn't tuned. Oh, they're creeping along.
Better. Purdue already through the century of the University of Alberta, though. That single target damage from the balancing standard really impressive as they take that sentry all the way out. Looks like going with the same strat as the previous round.
That balancing standard buff on the barrel heat for level 1, those early levels, getting past that and into the later game of being level 2 and level 3, it definitely seems like a very strong advantage to have, having that balancing standard, just being able to shoot for a lot longer at level 1 than any other robot on the field.
Wow,
And I guess debatably not sentry, but, you know, we'll talk about that when it happens.
How the heck did that happen? Look at that. There's not a multiple of 10 for the blood bags. Anywho, it won't end up mattering as Purdue is just chewing through the base of Alberta, but not an interaction I've seen before.
Aced.
One thing that's interesting to take note of, notice that Purdue's sentries actually back up against the wall. I don't know if that was an intentional move or if that was a move that was just spurred on by a few of the projectiles. Looks like a bit of friendly fire going on just for fun.
I mean, with the strat that they're executing this time,
unless they're going for a record, no reason to try and go all the way to the base.
Yeah. And as you stated earlier, having the sentry retreat back towards the wall, not a bad move.
Especially if you plan on keeping it stationary the entire match.
Yep.
And it looks like as we have an explanation for the delay. So the RFID passed inspection, but it didn't work once it arrived to the field, which is really weird because it's a very short distance from the inspection room to the field. But since it passed the inspection, they didn't change anything, and they didn't change anything while they were waiting for the match. There is no rematch of the previous match.
Aced.
I mean, round 2, right? Even with that RFID working, is showing us that it probably wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Purdue's still quite dominant here, but Alberta doing better this game than they did last, getting the sentry health of Purdue now. Oh, no, you're right. That was friendly fire. Yeah. It's been
Some
heavily,
of it might have been friendly fire, but I don't know if it has been
heavily one-sided.
Yeah, it looks like trying to just make sure that that level 1 power limit is used correctly on the side of U of A, just to make sure that they can move around without damaging themselves in the early game, is going to be something that's pivotal to their success as a team as we move farther onto these group stages, because you cannot do that once we leave the group stages with the teams that are going to be getting out of it. You have to be able to regulate that power and not just take free damage at the beginning and give the other team free levels if you go over that power limit.
Purdue in a good position here, of course. Standard 4, though, is the one we were looking at. Standard 3 we know is doing really good. Has been doing good for Purdue for quite some time. And is, wow, what a tiny shot they're hitting here. Probably only 2/3 of the armor panel exposed at all. And still a pretty great amount of accuracy. Purdue really give themselves a name here as one of the more accurate teams in the RMNA at UL.
Well, both more accurate and more efficient at positioning by being able to show that they can shoot from a distance and still be accurate, not just from up close. Lots of action also going on over in our 1v1 arena.
Yeah, I believe that's VT and maybe UT right now. But here on the 3v3 field, Purdue's going to be able to wrap it up through this tiny little gap if they so wish. 10 seconds left to go. 70
might have
HP.
just ran out of projectiles to be able to finish the job. I think this might be Purdue's first win that hasn't been a base kill.
Yeah.
Unless they can do 70 damage, and they cannot. So it looks like it's not a base kill, but very, very close to one, and a quite definitive win for Purdue, which, you know, having two robots over one and both of them being max level very quickly is quite expected.